This is where the fun begins.
I'm telling you, this finale, it's unbelievable how tepid contemporary art seems compared to the passionate quality of this finale. So you have this like huge, like it's like romantic nature painting, apocalyptic landscape of the lava. Lucas cross-cuts the destruction of the Senate chamber, and you have the destruction of industry going on. And then after all these horrors, it is so beautiful. I'm saying, oh my God. Nothing in the last 30 years in any of the arts has been produced as emotionally compelling and significant as the finale of Revenge of the Sith.
Are you sure? So be it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Oh my God, yes, my camera is on. How are you guys doing? Happy to be here. It is that time, Thursday morning, and we have our CAF chat here. So I know everybody's dropping in. Let me go back to the comments on my side here. Everybody's dropping in. I'm so glad to be here with you guys, as always. So if you're joining, hit that like button. Share out to all platforms and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching on Twitter, if you want to come over here on the YouTube side to participate in the chat, I welcome you to come right over. And if you're catching the replay, yes, if you're catching the replay, let me know, comment below. And as always, like, subscribe, and share if you're catching the replay, and become a channel member. We are getting ready to do another listen party, and this one's going to be the Young Jedi Knights, and we're going to go through that series. So each listen party probably be about 2 hours. So for the first 2 weeks, there'll be one book. So each book will be summed up for 2 because they're about average 4 hours. I don't want to keep you guys with me for 4 hours listening. I want to do nice bite-sized chunks where we can discuss, listen, discuss, have a good time. So if you want to participate in that, become a channel member. And then plus you get 10% off on any purchase of my art as well. And yeah, let me go ahead and change this view. I thought I would like the round view, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Okay, let's see here. That might be better. Let's see here. Then there is this. I don't know. Maybe this. I don't know. I'm getting picky with the view. Circle, square, rectangle. I don't know. All right. So welcome again. Become a channel member, you guys. I highly recommend that. Beneficial in a way to get yourself fully immersed, especially with how we're continuing to see Disney's destruction against Star Wars. Yep. So become a channel member as well. And as always, let me go ahead and play this little clip here because I meant to push it, didn't. So here we go.
CAF. Lots of it. For me and for the Ready Room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
I love that clip. I love listening to the audibles and the audiobooks because we get so much more in-depth content. Reading is amazing. How can you not be an intellectual person if you don't read? Wasn't that the standard a while ago? Like intellectual people who understand media and any type of literacy also take in the form of reading and researching and all that. Like, it used to be, that movies were basically just a quick sit down, non-thinking, in a sense, not thinking as what I mean with that is that you didn't have to put the energy of, imagination into what you're reading and seeing it in the mind's eye or the head or whatever, where you can just kind of let yourself loose and not worry about, creating and using your imagination because it's already in front of you. That's what I mean by non-thinking, not like just, clear your brain and just consume kind of thought. I'm talking about the intellectual thinking, what you get with reading, where you have to envision it all in your mind, right? You have to see and you have to envision and stuff like that. And that used to be, when I was growing up, a thing of where reading was more intellectual and watching TV and stuff was didn't apply to that because you weren't using your imagination. It's already being given to you in a sense. And now it's flipped. Especially with Andor. If you don't like it for whatever reason, you just don't understand media literacy, I guess you could say. And this is a true thing now, a true belief, or I believe that's come to truth, that reading is no longer an intellectual pastime. Everybody wants quick gratification. No one's really using their imagination to bring something to life that comes through reading, that comes through creating. They have to have that done for them. And so that's where I'm at on this. So been thinking about this a lot because, I'm like facing my own library here. My library doesn't all consist of my Star Wars stuff. However, it's fully packed. I still never got my bookshelves that my husband and family was like, you need to get to place your books on more safely and constructively, to keep them pristine. So I still have to get that. So I have my huge source library for Star Wars. Then I have my huge EU library of the novels, the comics, all of that. And then I have like all my native arts, that's called Whispering Wind stuff, and native books and stuff. And then, my other type of books that I want, that I like to read, that's non-Star Wars, and some educational stuff too. And now everybody can just get a quick fix on Googling things. They don't take the time to find a book. Remember encyclopedias? Remember growing up, encyclopedias where, if you had some in your own home, that was a blessing. We had like maybe A and W and whatever, like, because they were categorized by the alphabet letter. So A was all the stuff that pertaining with everything that began with A. You can research and stuff, or you went to the library, like Star Wars Marvel Pierce says, the Dewey Decimal System, that kept the brain sharp. When you stop disconnecting to your mind for creativity, for imagination, all of that, your mind becomes soft, basically. And so that's where I stand on that. So let me see who's in the chat. I just jumped right into this. You guys are like, what the hell is she talking about? No, but I was just thinking about that because, these Andor fools, Andor shills will put that on you like, oh, you just don't understand. You're dumb. You're an idiot. You're not intellectual. You can't understand intellectual writing. I'm like, I am not reading something. I'm watching something. And, so it just goes, and I started tearing it apart. Nitpicking is just taking little pieces out and, and stuff like that. No, I started tearing that shit apart because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And listening to Purist on Anna, that Star Wars Girls channel, had me thinking about it even more, because as they were breaking down the show and, Rhino was like, oh, it's good writing. And I'm like, dude, okay. And then, but as they were breaking down the show and talking about certain events that happened in the show, the more it came to the conclusion that it's not good writing. And they prove that with just talking and discussing with their own viewpoints and how they've seen things and stuff. So it's very interesting, very, very interesting. All right, let me see here. Hey, Matt G, what's up? Swift -1. How are you doing? All right. And then Soul Assassin bought those in the house. Thank you for posting all the links to follow and getting my merch, all that. Like button and share the stream out. And let's see here. The backseaters here. Hello, how are you doing? And let's see here. And we have the Briscoe. What's up, Briscoe? How are you doing? It feels kind of crazy being on screen, but I figured, you know, I got up, I got ready. I got this summer dress on. Yeah, it's a brand new dress that I just recently got. So I'm wearing a dress and it's very comfortable. So I'm very comfortable. Decided to at least throw my hair back so I don't have to worry about curling it, and doing something with my face a little bit and just coming on screen. It's been a while. And Mike is here. And yet I'm told supposedly very smart people that Andor is way better. I know, right? And Conrado, paper kick the like button. Paper kick. Okay, paper kick. Star Wars Grand, what's up? You know, our good friend from Scotland. You know what's crazy is that I started like watching videos like yesterday while I was doing beadwork and doing stuff around the house on the English language and how it's influenced like Scottish and Ireland and all that. And I just started, you know, the etymology of the language, English language, and how and then how like English has, you know, influence like the Scotland and stuff like that, the language there. It was very interesting. I was going to share that with you. Let me see. Grab your CAF or bongs and let's talk some NJO. Yes, I am. Oh, I don't have the book with me. It's on my couch. I am now beginning my reread for Star by Star. Holy crap. We're in for it. We are in for it. And that's where we're beginning with the timeline for New Jedi Order now. So the topics, New Jedi Order, we're in Star by Star timeline. And then we're going to talk about, of course, before then, we're going to do Lucas Facts and Book of the Week. And then before we end here, we're going to go into Cringe Factor. So Cringe Factor is going to be, it's going to be a reference back to Andor in a sense. So this should be fun. This should be fun. And let's see here. They don't read. They don't want to read because they are lazy. And some people's way of reading is listening. And because sometimes some people, it just, reading can be difficult, okay, for some people. I'm not trying to sound like condescending or anything like that. And so some people listen to audios, but listening still gives you the same aspect of using your mind to you know, look and imagine the scenes, gives you that beautiful creative process. Let's see here. Pyrrha says, I think we need to show the Disney shills the original female fandom Disney claimed didn't exist in the EU. Pure adulterated Star Wars, Spectre of the Past with OG Star Wars and Anna, that Star Wars girl. Hey, if you can get it, I'm down. If she wants to talk about it, because the duology is absolutely my favorite, like between all of Zahn's books. Honestly, it is. You know, my hot take is, you know, Thrawn trilogy or Empire trilogy is overrated. I like the duology better. So that's just my thing. Reading, is that some kind of personal attack or something? Reading is hard for me. God. And I was just coming to that. I just said, you know, not to, you know, sound condescending. Some people, you know, it's hard for them to read. And, but you guys still do it. You still attempt it, not trying to be condescending again, but you still do it. But listening to the audibles is a lot better. But you still, my point is still with that, is you're listening and you're using your imagination to view the worlds, the people, the places, all of that. I'm collecting EU books along with manga and Civil War books. Hey, that's pretty cool. You know, everybody has a unique library. If you have your own library at home, everybody has a unique library. Like I said, I'm into astrology, so I have some astrology books. I'm into, you know, like I do a lot of art, and I'm my background it goes into Native American art. So I have like Whispering Winds and stuff like that that pertains to Native art and stuff. I have those type of books and magazines, and then of course other things like I do have a girly you know, books I like to read from Nora Roberts and stuff. So yeah, so I have stuff like that. Tony Gilroy is secretly stealing Kyle Katarn's stuff. Like Cassian's show was based on Kyle Katarn's backstory. Yeah, there's that. We could break that down. I've been breaking that down for quite a while now, and it's apparent. It is very much apparent. Backseater says even if they don't like reading, there's audible books for that. Correct. and there you go. So I think you and Purist have something in common with that the OG Star Wars girls should come together and talk about the duology. Well, you see, Muffy, I prefer to criticize film so much more intellectual than reading a complex novel about the Star Wars universe. I'm like butchering this. When I hear a complicated word, I jizz my pants. Pseudo intellectuals. Encyclopedia Botanical Britannica. Did I say botanical earlier? But yeah, the Britannica, the encyclopedia. Yep. And I'm going back in time. If we can turn back time, if we can find a way. Okay, so we went into share a little bit. All right, haha. Yep, Allure on that Dewey Decimal System. Correct. The farm planet in Andor is totally Rebel Moon. Yeah, we went through that too. Pierce, posted about it, brought it to light in a sense, because he's the first one that he's seen that brought that to light. I haven't watched that scene really until after the fact. And so great catch, Pierce. I know the Dewey Decimal System. Conan the librarian would be proud. Conan the librarian. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Some fake intellectual dropped a comment on Anna's stream this morning, ripping Anna, Rhino, script trooper, and robot head, who canceled and wasn't on stream. Let's see. Haha. I called him out for the big fraud. Wow. Okay. I got up, got myself ready, stayed focused on the screen, so I don't know the stream, so I don't know like what's going on behind the scenes for anything. That's to be expected. Really, it is. It's like you could barely say just one little aspect of why you don't like it, and they are fucking triggered. It doesn't take much. Hey, Mr. Dystopian, how are you doing? I'm so smart. I didn't watch the stream and commented like I did. Laugh my fat ass off. This shit writes itself. Correct. It sure does. I'm going to have to go take a look at it later just for amusement. Yes. I should have a mic. Yes. Boxing brutal. I agree. We'll get into that. Yeah, they don't teach Scottish Gaelic, here anymore. It's sad. Wow. I would think that they would still want to keep indigenous languages in a sense, like that's indigenous language to you guys, right? Because that's a part of the identity of you guys, of your origins. And my people, like there's some tribes that almost completely lost their language and there's piecing it back, which is amazing to see. My tribe, Lakota Sioux, we had one of the mission priests really engaging with our culture, and so he did dictionaries and of our language, and he did a lot of study, talking with a lot of Lakota men and women, breaking down the language and creating definitions and looking at how to properly pronounce and form sentences and stuff. So that was pretty cool. But, you know, that's our identity. And I can go forever on this, but this is not what this stream is about. But it was very interesting. Very interesting to watch. And the guy that was speaking on there, I was like, is that Scran's cousin? Because you guys look alike. I'm going to have to share it with you. I'm like, oh, holy shit, you guys look alike. Double A says, the supposed civil war with circus films. Total B-ish Joshy boy. Now, I've seen the DMs on Twitter are kind of going nuts. Like my app, I can get some stuff on DMs, but on the browser, on the internet browser, I can't. But I thought I'd seen something about Joshy's Twitter being suspended or something. I don't know. Or it could have been his old account. Soul Assassin says, I may not read good, but I can ride my bike with no handlebars. Oh, damn. I remember those days. We were crazy kids. Holy shit. We were hiking with 3 or 4 on a bike. We were like, look at me, no hands. I can ride and steer with no handlebars. You know, that kind of shit. Mind you, we probably fell down quite a few times before we got that control, right? Coming home with scraped knees and all that stuff. Good times. Good times. I climbed trees. I rode bikes. I was a tomboy, I guess you could say, if you want to do a stereotype, but I still like my dresses and stuff at times. And I really didn't play with Barbies, but I loved figures, playing with different figures and stuff. So I don't know. I was a very unique child growing up. Of course, lightsabers was big old long tubes, like rolling paper tubes. Hey, what can you do, right? All fun times. Imagination. Imagine that. We played outside. We did crazy shit and had fun. We were inspired by all our favorite shows, and we imagined ourselves in the shows, like movies like Star Wars, and we played those characters. Imagination. What a good time. I find a lot of female EU readers like the duology a lot. Oh, interesting. Okay. I actually have a female friend who recommended I go back and reread it and read it because I hadn't read it when it came out before New Jedi Order. Ah, all right. I know all of you guys are chatting here. We have 41 beautiful souls watching, listening, participating. Thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out here. Now, I was going to bring up something, but I forgot now. I was thinking about this last night, and it's like in my mind right now, but I can't quite pin down what I was going to bring up as a fun topic, because I started, like I said, my mind went from that to thinking about these dumbasses, these Andor shills, and how they gaslight because what you like triggers them, or what you don't like triggers what they like. You know, so I started just thinking about all of that, and going, and then they go and bash the EU. But then I'm thinking, you're bashing something that has very imaginative creators that George Lucas brought in. They are award-winning writers. That's who they focused on during the time, who sat down and spent time talking with the other authors, at least to the ones that they're writing, that they followed from, like just say, like some, whatever novel is before theirs, they went and talked to the author, talked with the continuity keepers, and even George. And so there was a lot of things behind the scenes that had happened to create these books. Mind you, there's some books that, I don't care for much as others, and that's just normal. And like I said before, something I like, purists may not like, or Soul Assassin may not like. That's just normal. We all have our distinctive likes and dislikes and storylines and all that. But the point is that there were magnificent writers that came in to create these stories. And now they are also being put down as, oh, kid stories, or they're not so mature, or whatever their BS talk is about. It's all a fucking grip. They don't know. They don't have the intelligence enough to even discern what is good or not. Really. The bar is so fucking low that a show that maybe is above or at that bar seems intelligent. Well, it's intelligent for the shit that you are consuming for Disney Star Wars. So I can see why you feel like it's tastes a little bit better, right? I don't know. All right, let's see here. You guys are amazing. I want to go down and read all the chat here, but I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and read upward now. Let's see here. All shield talking points is right. Yeah. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing? Remember when writing a Star Wars book, our comic was considered a highlight for an author. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And every book that didn't, even books that didn't hit, the author 90%, 99% of the time had the best intentions to keep it feeling like Star Wars. Correct. And we know Tony Gilroy has admitted that he was never into Star Wars. He stopped himself from saying he doesn't like Star Wars. So that's telling. Like, the truth comes out first. And he had to stop himself from saying he doesn't like Star Wars. And then he basically was admitting that he had Kathleen Kennedy having his back on decisions, on story plots, all of this. So it's very telling, very, very telling, because you know her, there's no source materials, right? And then the source materials that were I love it when my internet wants to act up. I don't know what's in the sky or what's going on in the universe, but hopefully you guys have not roboting or anything like that. Let me see here. Yeah, I seen that. I don't know what's going on. I have it. My internet is off on the phone. I don't know. I haven't had these problems in a while. Maybe because I have my camera on. I don't know. Let me go ahead and turn it off. There we go. Maybe that'll help. We'll see. We'll see. Laura's frozen in carbonite. The stream is lagging. Hopefully you can hear me now. Everything's okay. Oh, I don't know. Okay, so now it's okay. So it does not want me to have my camera on. Here I'm like, people are like, we haven't seen you on camera in a long time. I'm like, I'm feeling good. I woke up. I got ready. I'm like, let's do this. I got a brand new dress on. Okay. It is what it is. All right. So the value of the EU. Not many people, the Disney shills, correcting myself, will say, oh, it's just a marketing strategy. They only use the EU. They only use the EU as a marketing strategy. It's only to advertise and get people hyped up. It's only to make money. Well, no shit. So are the movies. The movies are there to make money as well. Everything that Lucasfilm does, every product that they produce is to fucking make money. We know that. However, hey, Diddly Squat. However, the EU or the overall lore is more than a price tag or a symbol of money income for them, right? It is also an exchange energy to the fans who love the product and want quality product. So the said company is going to produce the quality product, and in turn, they love and respect the IP that they're help creating, and so they're going to bring in authors who feel the same. That's the exchange, just like the movies. That's a beautiful exchange of energy, of sharing imagination with people who want to be immersed in that product as a form of escapism. something different, right? It's just like any type of art. Like I do visual art, like painting and stuff like that. It's my exchange of energy with you guys. I put something I love on canvas. You guys, tell me how you like it, like in a sense of like critiquing it and stuff, because that's what you guys do. And then some of you guys buy, some of you guys add to your collection. It's that beautiful exchange of something we all love and adore. And so of course there's going to be an exchange of money of, for in turn, because how are they going to hire these people to create the lore? So when people try to use that, these Disney shows try to use that to tear down Lucasfilm and the EU, as it's only a product that they're advertising so that they can make money. That's all that it's worth. It's more than that. And so I correct with that, and they get pissed off when I say, oh, well, the movies are just the same. It's an exchange. It's a beautiful exchange. And right now the exchange is shit. The exchange is pure shit. That's why a lot are not happy with what's going on with Star Wars under Disney, right? It's like in name only. It's anti-Star Wars. It's anti-Star Wars. And so when you have a product that no longer is valued by the consumer, by the person who wants to be immersed in that lore, the exchange is gonna not be as fruitful. The exchange as in not only money, but the critiques and the feedback, I guess you could say, the consumption or the reading of, because there's times where people don't have to buy because it's a gift or whatever, or, or it's electronic or whatever. So that exchange matters. And so that's why we're here. We are here to continue this beautiful synergy of exchange of what we love. And that's pre-Disney Star Wars. That's George Lucas era Star Wars. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our Lucas facts. Yeah, so Lucas facts. Let me see. Let me scroll. I thought I had it where I needed it to be. There we go.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
So with Lucas facts, this is another example of exchange. And it's exchange of ideas of creativity to creating a property or lore that fans love and want to continue to see. And so this Lucas fact here is Lucas's day-to-day activities in the main house includes the management of Star Wars story, which is probably the most carefully tended secular story on Earth. Going to my points that I've been making, right? Unlike Star Trek, which is a series of episodes connected by no central narrative, Star Wars is a singular story, a finite, expanding universe. Everyone in the content creating galaxy of Star Wars has a copy of quote unquote the Bible, a burgeoning canonical documentary, currently 170 pages long, that is maintained by quote unquote continuity editors, and 70 pages. All right. Blah. Alan Kirsch and Sue Rastroni. I need my glasses, you guys. I should wear my glasses. I don't wear my glasses, but here we are. Is maintained by the continuity editors, Alan Kirsch and Sue Rastroni. It is a chronology of all the events that have ever occurred in the Star Wars universe, in all the films, books, CD-ROMs, Nintendo games, comic books, and role-playing games. And each medium is seamlessly coordinated with the others. And this source is from John Seabrook, writer for the New York Times, the article, Why the Force is Still With Us, January 6, 1997. So with that, like I was saying, it's a beautiful synergy of creatives coming together to give the people who support their ideas, the stories of Star Wars, the story of Star Wars, the timeline of Star Wars, given us a beautiful, seamless story, I guess you could say, which, frankly, Disney Star Wars has been failing at from the start. Let's see here. And Conrado says, whatever happened to Ventress and Alpha in EU? In EU, Ventress went off on her own. And, of course, Alpha was in there. But she just basically disappeared. And I'm fine with that. There doesn't have to be any follow-up story with that whatsoever. Just like Quinlan Voth met back up with Colleen and discovered that she had the baby, and he has a son. And from there, he promised her, he lived out his promise, settling down with her. And I love that ending to that story too. Very amazing. And Andrew is here. The concept of pretending to like Star Wars to fit the back in 2002 was like absurd. Okay. When being a nerd became cool, that was bad. Let's see here. According to Joshy boy, Dave Filoni is gatekeeping George Lucas' Star Wars, and we're all alike. I don't know about that, Joshy boy. Yeah, he's doing a terrible job because he really, really has been bastardizing George's Star Wars too, from the beginning. So there's that, there's that. So with this being said, this will be on Twitter. It should have been posted already by now. So let's go ahead and get into our book of the week so we can get into our lore, get into our talk of New Jedi Order. But I'll give you guys a chance to refresh your coffee or your drink or what have you before we do that. But first, let's check this out.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
And here you go. So I have this book with me. I'm going to turn on the camera again. Let me put myself on screen. Oh, it's not going to help. It's not. I forgot this is an overlay. Okay, let me remove the overlay real quick so I could share with you. All right. And let's go here. And then I'll share the screen. So I do have the book. This is a great source book to have in your source library for Star Wars, especially when people are saying, oh, George wasn't hardly involved with this, or he didn't write, or he didn't do this, when they're trying to say that, say that George is better off having not be involved with his own lore and stuff like that. So I've, turned to that many, many times to prove them wrong. But also it's very fun to read through to get ideas of what George and the others that he brought in were thinking when they were filming and writing, doing the screenplay for the movies. It's very, very interesting. Very great book put together here. A great source book to have on your shelves. And the writer, of course, is Lawrence Bosrow. I should say that right, but I didn't. Probably not. And it came out in September 1997. And you would say, even though this is the annotated screenplay, the timeline still is the you could put the timeline because it's 0 BBY to 4 ABY. Now, the continuity notes I just basically wrote from the back of the book, the publisher's summary. Luke Skywalker was Anakin's, and see how it's written Anakin. Star Killer. Han Solo was a huge green-skinned guy with no nose and large gills. So he was basically an alien before they made him human. And Princess Leia had a bit part. Here at last is the definitive Star Wars script collection. All 3 full-length screenplays presented with the secrets that led to their creation. Through hours of exclusive interviews with George Lucas, Lawrence Kasdan, Ivan Kershner, and others involved in the crafting and original trilogy, Lawrence has uncovered the complex process through which life was breathed into the legendary Star Wars saga. Then, by exhaustively annotating the actual scripts, he reveals the fascinating tale behind each step in the evolution of the blockbuster films. So very fun. Like I said, fun to read, great resource to have on your bookshelves, especially when and if you decide to counter shield points on their take on about George Lucas and his Star Wars. What's funny is these Andor people do talk shit about George Lucas too. It's crazy. They do all that to lift up Andor. If something was of quality, they should stand on their own merits, right? And so here we go. We're at that point again. And it's the same repeated instances that we see with every show, but this is as extreme as The Last Jedi. You remember Last Jedi when these are the same, almost the same talking points. Maybe some things were switched up, a little bit more creative, I guess you can say, but they are of the same coin. So having this Star Wars, the annotated screenplay, I highly recommend to put it on your shelf. Seriously, thrift books give OG a sponsorship. Come on, man. Right? And it used to be like Audible. When I first started my channel for Star Wars, George Lucas era Star Wars, I did a lot of Audible stuff. And it's like, I would love to have Audibles too. But, it is what it is. I'm here and I will remain here no matter if I have any type of sponsorship or not. And that's fine. Filonizer Ray, Darth Talon becomes a Mary Sue-like superpower force sensitive who's gonna join the Rebel Alliance by the end of the show for some reason. And thank you so much. Star Wars Marvel Pierce became a YouTube member. Thank you so much. I think he might have re-upped because he has been one before. I've been turning against Filoni now for Gilroy. Wild. Yeah, so Star Wars, the annotated screenplay of episode 4, 5, and 6. Get it on your shelves if you can. Great source book to have. Great resource to even go back and see the creative process during the time. Very interesting read in itself. So with that being said, let's go ahead and we're going to start getting into our new Jedi Order lore, but let's go ahead. I'm going to refresh my drink, and this will give you guys a chance to refresh your drink. So let's hear from, where is it at? Let's hear from Matt Wilkins.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the expanded universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The expanded universe respects the reader. In the expanded universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy, just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story and continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
I have fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
CAF. Lots of it. For me and for the Ready Room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
Hey there. So, new Jedi Order Star by Star. Holy heck. Now, I have the hardcover, but even if you have the paperback, it is the biggest written Star Wars book in the franchise, like in pre-Disney, George Lucas era of Star Wars, right? And there is so much going on in this book, and it begins with tragedy. As some of these books already open up that way with some kind of like dire strait kind of events, we get a in the beginning we get like a flashback, not a flashback, because really we get a recap of events basically. And then we get into Mara Jade with Jaina Solo and they're meeting a ship and stuff, and it gets into Alima Rar and her sister Numa Rar, and this is where we get the introduction of the Voxens. So I'm talking about the beginning of the book, but we are in the beginning of the timeline. And so we're going to get into the state of the New Republic, like always, once we get into each timeline, because we want the purpose here is to give you guys the download, I guess you could say, of the download of what's going on as we enter each timeline, where the Vong are, where the New Republic is, the Jedi are, what's going on with them in there, the progress of the invasion, and other events tying to the beginning of this event. And if you have not read this book, it's one of them I highly recommend. But again, I would love for you to read to Star by Star, not just pick it up. If you pick it up, it's not going to hurt, but you get more depth of, and you get more, I won't say attachment, but the loss and stuff is much more. And yes, there's a loss. There's a major loss. And yeah, I just had to pause there. I'm like, yeah, there's a major loss in there. Now, of course, my screen here is still the same. I kept it the same with the events, the collapse of the core, basically. And I want to show this. So let me see if Twitter's gonna. Twitter should be okay, other than the DMs were kind of not responding for whatever reason. Like there's a glitch going on. And when Twitter or other social medias have glitches, it's kind of like I just want to log out for the day and let them resolve it, because you never know what's going on and you don't want your site to be hacked, or if it's being hacked and stuff like that. So let me see. I'm going to pull this up because I mentioned this before, and like Matt and them didn't realize that this is what it looks like until I mentioned it. And now it's like you can't stop talking about it because it's just a realization of how brilliant these artists, these creatives are, to give you a glimpse of like what's going on. And you'll see what I'm talking about as soon as I pull this up. Let's see here. Let's see here. Is it showing, or do I have to? Okay, let me go ahead and remove this. Okay, dude. I just love when shit like that happens. It doesn't want to cooperate. All right, here we go. Add to stage. I thought it was there. So this is what I'm talking about. When you first get the first book, Vector Prime, and then you start reading throughout the whole each book, you're going to have this map inside the book. And this right here is basically like a Yuuzhan Vong claw or hand. And the hand is reaching for the core, for Coruscant to take over the galaxy. So I'm going to have to do a little screenshot from Vector Prime all the way to Star by Star, with showing the progression of the reach of this hand towards the core. You have the Tingle Arm, which is crazy because the Tingle Arm is just a place, just one of the outlying portions of the galaxy right here. But then you have the arm here. This is where they came through, Tingle Arm. You have the arm, you have the hand, you have the fingers, and they're reaching, grasping over the core. So I thought that was brilliant for the creatives to share this. And I just, it's just crazy to think that these guys, these people who planted the Vong, that planted, insurgents and spies and stuff, even back in the Old Republic, staged this, and how they almost took the galaxy. And excellent story writing, excellent setup, excellent way of these creatives during the time to even share that they infiltrated long ago as they started moving towards the galaxy. The hand of the Vong, yes. And so I just thought I'd bring this up. Once again, I thought about putting it in the PowerPoint that I put together and have a series, but I think I'll do something a little bit different. I'll find a way. I'll use my my Photoshop here, or my Illustrator or whatever, and put something together to show the evolution just through this map. You could see the evolution of their invasion just through these maps here shown inside the book. All right, so let me go ahead and remove this now. Let's see here, stop screen, and let's go to here. Now, if you have the New Jedi Order source book, feel free to pull it out. Open up to page 132. We are going to get into the state of the New Republic. Now, how many of you guys read Star by Star? Share in the comments and let me know. Besides the big main event, let me know your favorite little event or storyline or whatever inside this book. It doesn't matter if it's towards the end, middle, or the beginning. There's a lot going on in this book. This timeline. Not necessarily the book, but the timeline. Even in the source book, this is like one of the biggest portions of the timeline. Edge of Victory, second, I believe. But this right here has a lot going on. And let me see here. And it's all worthwhile having to, even if you're not going to do the role-playing game in this, because it has a lot of resources in here that you can look up. Let me see here. Question. Does it look like a Vong hand is closing more with each New Jedi Order book? Yes, it does. Yes. Vector Prime changed the way I see Star Wars. Yeah, and Scram is a brand new reader. He's reading it for the first time. And yes, some people back when these books were coming out didn't like how dark they were taking Star Wars, taking the story, but you didn't see them going and talking shit like you see Andor people. Like they're like, oh, you don't, it's intellectual. You don't like Andor because it's getting dark and gritty and it's mature content. Okay, well, obviously you never read the New Jedi Order for that conclusion. That's very telling, right? All right. So, but it's like experiencing Scran's reaction, the joy and the enthusiasm of reading through the New Jedi Order and him talking about it to me and others. I'm a little envious because I remember my first time reading through, right? And we all do, and the feeling of it and stuff. So to see someone doing their first time now, and it's fun to see their experience. Let's see here. The book is Vector Prime to the Third Power. And the Hands of the Vong. Brilliant masterclass. I agree. These slides shows makes my brain happy. Well, I'm glad it does. I try my best to at least put something together, even if it's not extensive, but something that you guys can have on screen to have a little bit of visuals to see what's going on, or at least have an idea. The rodent shields are from the Grifter class. And of course, thank you, Soul Assassin. If you want the audiobook book, there you go. Let's see here. They didn't even know the Yaman or know about Yaman card. That's mature content. The whole concept of the Voxen, the callback to Heir to the Empire, is great. Too many to list, though. Oh, correct. And so when I was putting together the for today's stream for the New Jedi Order lore talk, I was like, where should I approach? How should I approach this? Of course, the state of the New Republic, and the progress of the invasion. And then I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about the Vornskrs cloning project, because that is something that we see. The Voxen are introduced right away. And if you guys know about Alima Rar, this is the point that takes her towards going crazy, going to the dark side, her loss of her sister. Spoiler, I'm sorry, Scran, but but that goes into her arc. What happened to her? Why did she go mad? It wasn't necessarily because of the joining the Killick nest under can't think of her name now. Damn it, I can't think of her name. But anyways, but it doesn't just start in the Darkness trilogy. And this is why I say that Legacy of the Force coming after, even Darkness trilogy, tied up so well. It's a great follow-up to the New Jedi Order. So yeah. And some people will be probably talking shit to me about what I said, but I don't care. I think it was brilliantly done. The whole concept. Oh, I already read that one. I meant to press this one. Trying to remember back, did Kip or Ganner lead the team with Jason and Anakin? It's been 20 plus years. I believe Ganner was there. Was Kip there too? I'm rereading. It's been a while since I reread, but I remember, I recall Ganner. I believe Ganner was there. And I believe Kip was basically there too, because he was helping to rescue Jaina. She wanted to go back to her brother, Anakin, and I think he was helping to rescue her and get her out. So I believe that's the scenario, if I remember. So, but we'll get to that. We will get to that eventually. Cadis and Jaina, hell yeah, guys, become a channel member. All right, so I've been talking so much. Let's go ahead and get into the lore. I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of my CAF. Let's do this. So basically, I'm going to go to this image here. I think it's very important. I'm going to make this bigger without me being in the screen. I think that's better. All right. So, and again, I want to make a series of this little map here with the black, yellow dots to show the progress here. This is another way of progress showing where how far they've gotten so far. And this right here is both the Vector Prime Vong advanced map combined. So you see all the planets and stuff. I put those together so you can see all the planets that were taken by the Vong. So far, that's from the Atlas and stuff. So we have the advancement of the progress of the invasion. More planets have been taken. And so again, the black dots with the yellow lines are the planets that were taken or destroyed by the Vong. And so the state of the New Republic. The New Republic is in worse shape than ever before. As the Yuuzhan Vong consolidate their hold on the captured territories, refugees flee in massive convoys that are too big to protect. The Yuuzhan Vong ignore most of these, but they make it no secret that they could destroy them easily, especially if they believe the Jedi might be hiding among the refugees. And that goes to Alima Rar and her sister. There's that story behind there I won't talk too much about. And the Peace Brigade ships stop refugee freighters conducting inspections and brutal interrogations while searching for Jedi saboteurs. If a passenger or two dies or a ship has to be destroyed, it only goes to show that refugees should learn to cooperate. That's brutal. That is fucking brutal. And I have a channel member chat and a super chat. So let me get to these and I'll finish reading that. John Gets Gaming. What's up? A member for 3 months. Can't stay long because I'll be spoiled, but I finished Hero's Trial. Sounds like they're about to go into Hut Space. Can't wait to see it develop and also to jump into Bantam Era sometime. Awesome. I'm so glad another person who is jumping into the EU and starting in New Jedi Order. It's been a joy watching you experience this as well, John. Thank you so much. And $10 super chat from Abu Nas. Thank you so much. Don't mind me. I am on break from mixing my album, sitting, having lunch, and listening to my favorite Star Wars elitist break down the lore. Much love to you, Queen. Keep teaching the masses. Remember, safe space. Right on. Thank you so much for tuning in and can't wait to hear what you're mixing up for your album. How amazing is that? Talking about creatives, right? I mean, look at Abu Nas over there creating, using his imagination, right? Using his imagination with the medium of music. Fucking amazing. Thank you so much. And then Grumpy Old Ninja's here as well. Thank you so much. All right. So where was I at? With so few worlds now willing to accept refugees, those in space are stuck there, moving from system to system, waiting for some world to give them secure, or more likely waiting to be destroyed by the Vong. So just imagine being in limbo, losing your home planet, having to flee your system, not knowing if you're going to even find ground again and going to be lost in space, possibly dying in space because you are misplaced because of this invasion and the New Republic not assisting you. That's fucking crazy. That is masterclass writing, if I want to say so myself. Troy Denning and the following contributors to the New Jedi Order fucking masterclass. Refugees are low on the list of priorities for the New Republic's ruling council. And there's going to be more to that. I can't wait to get to their plan and what they do for themselves, how they become greedy. I can't wait to get to that. That's coming up, you guys. And not that I'm like happy that the New Republic is falling, is going to fall. And Coruscant's going to fall. But that goes to a very interesting angle in a dire time where people like fear of dying and losing control, losing your planets, losing your livelihood all plays into this. All right. Chief of State Vornskrs seems more interested in securing his own future in a galaxy ruled by Yuuzhan Vong and less concerned with the fate of the rest of the New Republic. If this is the case, he cannot be faulted for his performance. He plays at being admittedly pro-New Republic and even warns a Yuuzhan Vong emissary that their threats will only serve to unite the New Republic and the Jedi Knights. So he's kind of playing both ends in a sense because he doesn't want Botha-Wee to go down. But then if the New Republic goes down, that means Botha-Wee is going to go down. So he's playing both cards. And he does have an interesting arc towards the end of his life. And so that will be discussed once we get there. I do need to do a remaster one day. I was on a time constraint for a contest. I don't know what that one's about, but yeah. Those shit Peace Brigade folks. I still remember what y'all did to Ykrit. Oh, that's your favorite Jedi. Poor soul assassin. Justice for Ykrit. Others in the Senate disagree with the stance. Senator Vicky Shesh is the strongest proponent for turning the Jedi over to the Yuuzhan Vong without further delay. By refusing to surrender, Shesh contends that Jedi are prolonging the conflict and endangering millions of lives. Without Leia Organa Solo's voice to defend the Jedi, the Senate could very well decide to support the Peace Brigade in rounding up Jedi, or at least look the other way. So we're still at that point, and I like Vicky Shesh. Oh my fucking God. I can't wait till her demise. I can't wait to get to the point of her demise. Vornskrs failure. Total loser. He doesn't have the cards, and he's been very mean to the Jedi. Just a really nasty guy and not very smart. I could see it in your Trump voice saying that. I don't know why I envisioned your impersonation of Trump. I don't know why, but that's funny. Oh, you were talking with Abu. Okay. If only we got a show based on the Yuuzhan Vong. No, I don't even wish for that anymore. Not with the state of Star Wars. Nope. All right. Let's see here. Pro Jedi, anti-Jedi split. Here we go. Let me take a drink. I took a sip and I read that, John. That was absolutely meant to be Trump voice. Good. I caught up on that. That's so funny. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. The issue of whether to support the Jedi in any course of action splits the Senate into two mutually opposed camps. And that's what's not needed. This is why they begin to fall. Why the Vong infiltrates. The invasion nearly successful. Significant numbers of senators agree with Vicky Shesh, and that at the very least, they want nothing to do with Jedi problems anymore. However, the Jedi still have plenty of allies in the Senate who recognize that if the Yuuzhan Vong want the Jedi so badly, it might be because they fear them. The matter comes to a head when Leia Organa Solo reluctantly approaches the Senate about a convoy of refugees outbound from the Talfaglio. I probably said that wrong, but it's Star Wars. You could say something wrong and get it right the next time. To coerce Leia into revealing where the Jedi are hiding, the Yuuzhan Vong destroy a shipload of refugees and threaten to vaporize the entire Tifaglio convoy if she does not comply. Because the New Republic fleet is already tied up to protecting vital systems, it cannot spare the ships to safeguard a poorly armed civilian convoy. Furthermore, as Vicky Shess points out, the convoy would be in no danger at all if the Jedi would simply surrender to the Yuuzhan Vong. Oh, I can't stand that fucking bitch. Holy shit. Like, when I first read through this and got into who she was and her deception, holy crap. It's like, okay, so we know Vornskrs. He's the quote unquote anti-hero we love to hate kind of deal. She is right up there with him in the series. I fucking hate the bitch. All right. Leia's refusal to divulge the location of the Jedi base, in the opinion of the Senator Sesh and several others, does not make the refugee convoy the New Republic's problem. Surprisingly, Chief of State Vornskrs decides to defer the decision, which by now has developed into a full-scale shouting match. The senators begin choosing sides. Some wish to fight Yuuzhan Vong threat, while others seek to benefit from it. Neither group is certain which side Philia supports. So that's what's going on. So you have this pro and anti-Jedi sentiment going on. So this is kind of the fate of the Jedi. Where do they stand? Where Luke is like, we're going to protect the galaxy no matter what. You know, so we start seeing this shift going on. He says, Habuna says, sorry for late response. Having lunch, didn't think I'd be this hungry. That's okay. That's fine. After I'm done here, I'm going to have my meal too. So I really didn't have breakfast. I got ready, was on screen, wearing a cute little green white dress. And all I had so far is coffee. That's it. Coffee and water. That's all. So I'm going to have myself a nice lunch. Maybe I should text my son to see if he wants to get us lunch today. I'm going to do that. It's a little quick break here as I text. But Vicky Shesh, while I'm texting, Vicky Shesh, holy heck. So those who are reading for the first time, once you get to the point of Vicky Shesh, you're going to be like, what the fuck? You're just going to hate her as much as Vornskrs. You definitely is. Let's see here. All right, let's get into this. Progress of the invasion. And then we'll get into the Voxen/Vornskrs and what they are. And then we'll conclude from here. I figured this would be a great discussion to get you guys into the timeline of the Star by Star of Star by Star. This right here. It's kind of like an introduction of the coming new heroes, I guess you can say. Not necessarily that Luke and all them are standing down. We are seeing the like Jaina and Jason and even Anakin at this point stepping up into their own right now. And once we get into Legacy era, we're going to have more of their stories. And if there was no buyout of Lucasfilm, then we would have continue to get to the stories of the big three. And the big three that were set up was Jaina, Jagged Fell, and Ben Skywalker. We'll never know. Now, as fans, we can only just do what if imagination, imagine how they led from one end of Legacy era to the Legacy comics with Kate Skywalker. We can only just now imagine what conspired, right? So sad to say. Sad to say. Progress of the invasion. Victory is at hand for the Yuuzhan Vong. Like I was saying, we're seeing how successful they are so far because the Senate, because the council is split so much. And I have 69 beautiful souls listening, watching, participating. Thank you so much. Hit the like button. If you're watching on Twitter side, go ahead and come in and join the chat. I would love to see what you think if you read the New Jedi Order star by star. I'd love to have you in the conversation. Let me check. Okay. All right. So come on over. Just hop in the chat. All right. So the progress of the invasion. Victory is at hand for the Yuuzhan Vong. A huge battle fleet masses at Vortex. And War Master Saban La own fleet moves into position to attack Borlaeus. Ooh, Borlaeus. That's a major place for the New Republic, right? The same world that Rebel Alliance once used to stage their own assault on Coruscant. While the Yuuzhan Vong have not blatantly attacked military targets, it is obvious to everyone that if Borlaeus, Bilbringi, and Risi fall, Coruscant will be the mercy of the Yuuzhan Vong. The hope in, and like I showed you, that claw, that map of the invasion, and their hand, the hand of the Vong, basically reaching in towards Coruscant. Brilliant piece of art, visual there. The hope in the New Republic is that this is a matter of if rather than when. Saban La knows differently, of course. His truce with the infidels is only a matter of convenience to him. The Yuuzhan Vong realize that the greatest threat to their plans are the Jedi. That's why they want the split in the Senate, you guys, because the Jedi are their threat. So if they can have like infiltrators, like Vicky Shesh is basically an infiltrator. There's a lot going on as we get past Star by Star and we read more about Vicky Shesh. Holy heck. She's basically their own spy in the Senate. It's fucking nuts. This fucking traitor. Sorry, but that's just how I feel about her. So they have her in there and she's creating this anti-Jedi sentiment, and she has backing from half the Senate, where, you know, like Vornskrs is pro-Jedi in a sense, and so he has backing of half the Senate. And so when you have a decisive Senate group, then, you know, they're weak. They don't have a strong stance. That's what the Vong want, is this distrust, this questioning, the split, all of it. Masterclass writing, right? Let me see where I'm at now. Even though the Jedi behave in ways the Yuuzhan Vong can scarcely comprehend, striving to save the lives rather than letting people die honorable deaths, for instance, they are still considered formidable foes. If the New Republic maintains ties with the Jedi when the Yuuzhan Vong attack Coruscant, a victory for the invaders would be costly. The truce has given Saban La time to begin removing the Jedi from the calculations. Hello, grumpy old ninja. Oh, I think I said hi to you earlier, right? Scarcely familiar to our world. Yeah, I did. The War Master has two plans to accomplish his goal. The first involves ordering the Peace Brigade to hunt down Jedi whenever they can be found, using hunting beasts supplied by the Yuuzhan Vong Shapers Cast. Now, we went into a little bit about the Shapers Cast last CAF chat, and how they can create and shape new beings, kind of like Sith alchemy, right? The second involves using Nominor to coerce the Jedi into surrendering. And he does meet with Leia as well in the novel. So in the beginning of the novel, you know, in the first 1/4 or 1/8 of the novel, I believe. All right. So they use Vornskrs. We know this from the heir to the empire. They come from Merkur. They hunt Yzlamiri or any type of force, very strong force sensitive beings. So they find out about these creatures, and their Shaper Cast creates a hybrid version of them, and they're called Voxen. So let's get into this. And we do have the return of Vergera, but we will get into that next Thursday because we have Cringe Factor to get into as well. Vornskrs cloning project. So this is basically their cloning, their hybrid that they're making of this type of species, and we'll get into that. So those who don't know about these creatures, you're gonna find out now. And once you get into the book to read about them in Star by Star, you will see how horrifying these creatures are. After learning on Yavin 4 of the utility of the Vornskrs, predators that can sense force users, the Yuuzhan Vong decide that such creatures would make useful weapons against the Jedi. The Vornskrs must have their tails bobbed for proper training, but as a side effect, this modification makes them less formidable fighters. For optimum efficiency, the Yuuzhan Vong need a sort of Vornskrs hybrid, something that with the ferocity of a Vornskrs, but the responsive to Yuuzhan Vong conditioning. The Yuuzhan Vong procure several Vornskrs, hopefully provided by the turncoat New Republic Senator Vicky Shesh. Yep, Vicky helps them with this project. After studying them inside and out, the Shapers determine the closest cellular match among their own creatures, a predator called the Feral Zin. I might have said that wrong. Somewhat more intelligent than Vornskrs and already conditioned to working with the Yuuzhan Vong, Feral Zin make an excellent choice. The Shaper Cast goes to work finding a way to combine the deadliest qualities of each beast. That's fucking crazy, right? Holy crap. And when you get to the book, if you haven't read it yet and you're making your way there, when you get into it, you're going to read like exactly what the Rar sisters think about and what happened with them, with these creatures. Though several experiments fail, the Shapers eventually create one creature that survives. The Shapers immediately begin cellular replication techniques, cloning, to create many more Voxen. And I have not even shared the screen, so here we go. Here's what they look like. So they have familiarity, or they look like Vornskrs, but of course, they're not. So they're very similar, much more deadlier. I won't go into the dynamics of what they can do to Jedi, because I don't want to spoil it for those who are reading for the first time and have not made it to Star by Star. I want you guys to experience this as you read this and be like, holy shit, be taken back by it. Very amazing creatures. So with that being said, next week we will get into the return of Vergera. We have characters stepping in like Wedge Antilles, Garmbil Iblis, and all of that. And we'll get more into the refugee ships, what's going on with that. And like I said, it's gonna take a little while to get through this timeline before we push past the Star by Star timeline, which I don't mind at all. There's a lot going on. And thank you so much for sharing people to like and subscribe. Grumpy Old Ninja, thank you so much. All right, smash the like button. Thank you so much, Soul Assassin. Somehow, Vergera returns. Yeah, she hasn't died, so it's not that kind of like stunning thing. She did flee, and she's coming back into the picture because after this, we have two stories that lead into our story that leads into, well, the story does lead into Jason's capture. Spoiler, sorry. But the next coming 2 stories, we'll get in more into that as well. All right, let's see here. Nice Vong doggies. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Let me see here. I'm going to play this clip. I need to go to the refresher. Drinking nothing but coffee and water does not do a bladder any good. So let's go ahead and see here. I want a commercial. I want something that's kind of long. I can go back. Let's play this. Oh, I didn't want to play.
Jedi is something that came a little later. When we started building Jedis, we had a lot of Jedis, and we needed more and more Jedis. As we were doing them toward the end, we ended up with a lot of Jedis that looked like people that worked at ILM, with these short little haircuts and looked like they stepped out from behind a computer. And so I was saying we have to get more exotic Jedis, and so we only have so much resources to do these things with, but I do have Twi'leks because we use them quite a bit in other areas in the Senate and as background action. So I have a sort of a wardrobe and a setup of certain kinds of characters. So it was a way of reinventing some of those characters. And I had realized that we had a comic book that has a Twi'lek in it that is a Jedi. There's a whole series actually of her. And I said, well, why don't we put her in this? I mean, she's a comic character, but we'll just fit her in and have her be a background character because that's exotic. That's how the Twi'lek Jedi ended up in the backgrounds of these shots, was to try to use some of the work and effort that the guys in the comic book world had put into things and characters they had created.
All right. So good old George Lucas talking about how he, looks to the EU to bring in characters for the movies, creating a beautiful synergy of lore. All right. Let's put me back on the screen here. Hello, everyone. And Gibbet, how are you doing? I see you. All right. So we're going to get into Cringe Factor now. Now, Cringe Factor is going to be a fun one. So this should be very interesting. Now, we know Disney always, and their supporters always claim they're doing it first. They're doing it first. It's never been seen or done before in Star Wars. And you know what? Like I said, when people say, oh, well, they're talking about it being on screen, how I see being seen doesn't mean it has to be on screen because, again, we go to our imaginations, right? So if you're reading something and it's first introduced there, you're seeing it in your imagination. It doesn't have to be presented to you in front of a screen. And that's where I go. That's where I go with the intelligence talk that I was saying in the beginning of the stream about, how they don't read and that their lack of intelligence because of the fact that they have to rely on a moving film show or whatever for their imagination, right? So there's not much imagination there when you have something playing in front of you where you can read and visualize it in your head. So we're going to get into something that goes to another. First are also breaking George Lucas's rules. So we'll get into that. We will get into that. So let's see here. What do I want to play here before we move on? I got to bring up the article too as well. But Cringe Factor, basically, this is just a small little clip. Here we go.
So uncivilized.
So uncivilized. And here we go. Let me go ahead and scroll all the way up. So back to good old Screen Rant. Or did I freeze? I sure in the hell did freeze. There we go. Sorry. It's like my internet is going wacko or something. I don't know. All right. Let me put this on full screen here. Here we go. All right. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat before we begin. Let's see here. Muffin sounds good. George, like the EU, he signed off on it and it was useful to him. It was useful to everybody because it's one continuity, right? It is one continuity. That's how it was. Come on, dude. I want to go to my dad's. Hopefully I didn't freeze here. All the time when I bring up Screen Rant, there usually has to be a problem sometimes, like most of the time. So this is how I'm feeling right now.
CAF. Lots of it. For me and for the Ready Room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
Gonna be a fun CAF chat because I keep freezing and all this bullshit. But here we go. Here we go. So what does Screen Rant have to say about George Lucas, his rules, and being the first? And this is by Louis Glazebrook. I really said that weird, huh? Glazebrook. And I think we've encountered him before for Screen Rant. But not as often, like as in Mr. Bacon, you know. So here we go. Star Wars just broke a 48-year-old George Lucas rule, and I'm so glad it did. And so this is by this Louis Glazebrook. So he's glazing all over Disney Star Wars. Thanks to Andor for unwriting George Lucas's rule that has lasted 48 years in the Star Wars franchise has been broken. Huh? All right. And I'm very glad that it has. Okay, what is this rule? Almost 50 years ago, George Lucas began the vast Star Wars movie timeline. So the vast Star Wars, it's not just movie timeline. It is the Star Wars timeline. And he obviously doesn't know that the book came out before the movies. And then George wanted more mediums to be covered, not just through what he's producing through the movies. Since then, the franchise has only expanded, the spin-off movies, the spin-off movies crafted are the seamlessly endless pot of Star Wars TV shows. So he's talking about Disney Star Wars being released on Disney Plus. Although some installments have been devices, they have only mostly committed to the translating the galaxy Lucas began. They have mostly been committed. They all have mostly been. Mostly keyword, mostly, because they're not doing a good job. They're not going to do a good job interpreting or sharing what George created. Be it that the iconic design and musical style that Lucas employed for A New Hope. Musical style, well, I'm pretty sure he means that the musical style is the score. Because when you say musical style, I automatically go to like a musical type show, you know, and are the vast canon crafted by him in the prequels era. Most new Star Wars stories adhere to what he began. Bullshit. Including the most recent Andor Season 2. Oh, that's a major bullshit right there. The many rules and standards Lucas brought to the dark times of Star Wars are highlighted and adhered to in Andor. What many rules and standards? That's one thing you're not giving us. So let's read further. With many dubbing it the best ranked Star Wars TV show as a result. Well, you know, it's only ranked on Disney Plus. Like everything else goes above it. It hasn't been high up on the poll ratings for shows in general. Only on Disney Plus. That said, Andor still brings many differences to Star Wars, with one breaking an unwritten Lucas rule. Oh, unwritten now. He's going unwritten. So is he making this shit up? We'll find out. Rendering the show and the franchise all the better for it. The Empire's evil has always been shown from a distance. So I guess this is the rule. Lucas kept the focus on the heroes of the Star Wars. Firstly, it was worth exploring the Lucas rule. The Empire's evil has always been shown from a distance. How many of you guys disagree screen now. He's sharing Alderaan being blown up here. How many we've seen the Empire's evil up front and center? Like even seeing the planet being blown up, that's still seeing the evil up front and center. But we are seeing it in to share or to know Leia's response because it's her home planet. While not something the Star Wars creators has remained steadfast on, especially in the prequel era, the original trilogy certainly kept the Empire's evil ways at arm's length. Really? Well, we do see Leia being tortured. And if you're privy, if you know about the radio drama, it goes into details on that. If you read the book, it goes into details on that. So I don't see the word seen. Basically, I don't apply that just to the screen. I apply that to the imagination as well. There's other instances of seeing how cruel, evil the Empire can be up close and personal. And this is not just with the movies. We get into the EU as well. And the novels. So this is not an unspoken rule, George rule, because if George did not want people to see the Empire's evil firsthand up close and personal, there wouldn't be instances of scenes in the PT and the OT, and of course the EU, because the EU has to follow the same rules that George set for his movies, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Let me go back to the screen. That ad is funny. Feeling under the weather? Depression health call line. Screen cringe does seem made to be depressing. Before the dark times, before a certain Ronin. The Empire never struck back, right? Bail Organa saw that very closely. Leia seen it closely. I don't know what their definition of like not seeing something for up front and close up, because that's as close as you can get to viewing a destruction of the planet without being in contact with the explosion, right? Do people from Screen Rant know that there's literally a comic book series called Dark Times? Obviously not. Cringe factor, let's go, right? Obviously not. Okay, let's go on. Let's push on. Let me see. I haven't checked my messages from my son real quick. I'm going to do that. Okay. We're both not deciding. We're both indecisive about lunch right now. Okay. Let's see here where I was left off. Okay. Firstly, let me blah, blah, blah. Original trilogy certainly kept the Empire's evil ways at arm's length. Again, no, I wouldn't say that like the explosion of Alderaan is at arm's length. Arm's length to me would be that they're watching it on screen from another system. That's arm's length. She is literally in the Death Star, basically, as they fire. That's not arm's length. And she's not involved, but that is watching their involvement of the destruction of the Death Star. Like literally that's them reaching out and destroying. That's not arm's length. I admit that the element fucking does, because we see, like I shared Lucas talking about bringing Ayla Secura in to the movies. And we see her. It's not arm's length either. But again, this was found in the prequel era, and Lucas had constantly reiterated Star Wars remains the franchise for children. Okay, so he says that they broke this rule Like Disney Star Wars broke this rule, the first to do this, but now he's contradicting himself because, you know, Order 66 and stuff. And so now he has to pedal back. Oh, it's a franchise for kids. That's why, you know, it doesn't count. Bull fucking shit. You see the mental gymnastics going on in this article here? Holy shit. Just like any other Disney shill. Any other Disney shill. Let me see what you guys are saying. Hey there, Derek Lopez. How are you doing? All right, let's see here. And Star Wars is for everyone. Correct. But you see the mental gymnastics that he did here? Let's see what Derek says right here. All right. Order 66 used to be gut-wrenching. Now it's all a joke under Disney because too many Jedi survived and it makes Yoda's line in Return of the Jedi meaningless. Luke, when gone am I? The last of the Jedi you will be. Yeah, great point. Great point. All right, let's get this move on here with this article. I thought I clicked out. Okay, there we go. And then let's see here, where the original trilogy specifically is concerned, though the Empire crimes were kept at a distance. This is not a fucking distance at all. You're just seeing one perspective. We're not seeing the perspective of those on the planets because most likely the people on the planet had no idea what was going down. But we are on the other end of, and we're on the firing end of the destruction. That's not arm's length. That is involvement right there. That is doing the task. That's not arm length. Arm length is like someone watching it go down on hollow. Just like Tycho Selchuk, going back to the X-Wing series or going back to Tycho's arc. And this was talking about, this information was given to Corran Horn by, I think it was Winter, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, she told Corran, Tycho, and this is when Tycho was arrested for treason and all this other stuff. You have to read the series. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. But she tells Corran when they're discussing Tycho, and he thinks Tycho was behind his capture, his, you know, and all that. She tells him that basically he was on the HoloNet with his family as it went down when Tarkin decided to fire on Alderaan. So he was talking with his family, and all of a sudden the HoloNet went down. And he learned then what had happened, and that's why he defected from the Empire. He literally was there. Now that's at arm's length. That's secondhand account. That's what they're trying to say. That's at arm's length. That's an example of that. Okay. At the time of the New Hope's release, little about Alderaan was known other than it being the home of the planet of Princess Leia and, of course, Bail Organa. Lucas deliberately chose this tactic and did not show the planet its inhabitants of the final moment. Again, they wouldn't have known what was going down. And if he's shown the people, that's just would be their viewpoint. We're seeing the viewpoint of the Empire. This is what this Dole is not getting. When Alderaan simply being obliterated in the giant explosion from afar. They're not from afar. They are in firing range. Just like if someone was to shoot a gun at, do a sniping shot at someone, that's still direct, right? So let's go on. Moreover, another decision that was made during the filming of A New Hope that reinforces this idea was Leia's reaction. This is, again, not at arm's length. This is her reaction. This is the opposite end. So we're getting her reaction to what was going on. But if they would have shown people on Alderaan and they knew that they were being attacked, we would be getting their reaction. Opposite ends, still the same scenario. This is not at arm's length. So you're saying if we got reaction from Alderaanians being destroyed, like you've seen in, was it the Force Awakens, I guess you can say, on the Hosnian Prime system, whatever the name is. If we would have got their reaction, it's still the same as getting Leia's reaction, just opposite ends. There are brief shots of Leia looking shocked, enraged, and somewhat saddened at Tarkin's order to fire on the planet. But after its destruction, Leia is not seen again until Luke frees her from her cell. The depth of her emotion reaction is avoided. Her depth was shown there. She was in shock. And then, of course, she was, housed back into her cell. It doesn't take much of the imagination to know that she grieved. You don't have to see it for it to happen, really. That's just common sense, right? Let's go on. Even beyond this, the remainder of the original trilogy keeps the Empire. And you notice that he's only now referencing the OT and not the PT, because he proven that if he referenced the PT, it breaks this whole rule theory that he's throwing out. You see what he's doing here? Fucking obvious, right? And so they're not only saying this is the first time, but they're breaking a rule, but then it's only applicable to the OT. So then that's why there's no reference to the EU either. See the mental gymnastics going here on how they try to make it sound like, oh, Disney's doing something far bigger and better than what George ever did, because this is for mature content. This is so mature. This is so intellectual. Even beyond this, the remainder of the original trilogy keeps the Empire's evil at bay. No, it fucking doesn't. We see orders, we see them. We see Luke's aunt, uncle, basically being obliterated and their homestead destroyed. That's not keeping the evil empire, the Empire's evil at bay. Given that Lucas kept the focus of each film on its heroes. No, they shared the evilness of the Empire. We've seen Vader choke down some of his commanding officers. That's not keeping the evil at bay. We see them invade Hoth, literally attacking them and all that. That's not keeping the Empire evil at bay. I don't know what this guy watched, or if he even comprehended what he watched. I don't know. It's fucking crazy. The Empire and its agents only really appear in bigger battles or showdowns with the characters like Luke, Leia, and Han, allowing depths of the regime atrocities to remain off screen. We still see it on screen, just like we still see the heroes on screen. It's showing both sides of the coin in the story. In recent years, Star Wars has begun to change this. Star Wars began to change in the rise of Skywalker. So they're not even going to reference the Force Awakens with what I shared, And I'm not even a fan of Disney Star Wars at all. But I know. I am someone who mostly enjoys the sequel trilogy. I see what you're. Yeah, okay. No wonder he doesn't fucking understand George Lucas era and that he can't reference anything. He doesn't fucking know original Star Wars. Let me see what you guys are saying. I think I'm done with this because he's just going to keep on proved that this guy is an adult, is an idiot, and doesn't understand what he's doing. I have 78 beautiful souls. Thank you so much. Hit that like button. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. If you haven't already, subscribe. If Disney finally made a Rey movie, oh, it jumped on me. Where did it go? Where did it go? All right, let's see here. Ah, shit, I lost it. It jumped. All right, here we go. If Disney finally made a Rey movie, it's back to happy days like the High Republic 2.0. It's only for kids when it suits them. That's the narrative. I'm happy you pointed that out. That's the narrative. That is the fucking narrative that they pull all the time. And then finally they go and resort to, well, they're finally doing adult content, mature content. There's so much mental gymnastics going on these days. It's fucking hilarious. Lucas says they always use that Star Wars is for kids poodoo to defend their stupid shows, but love to praise Andor to be for being smash the like. Smash the like. Let's see here. Alderaan citizens in 0 BBY. Hey, why the sky turning green out of nowhere? Laugh out loud. Yeah, they have no idea what was going on and stuff like that. So we wouldn't really get a response to them in a sense. That's why it made sense for us to be on the Emperor side of the coin, I guess you could say, or the view. Doesn't mean that it makes them less, that they're not involved and that we don't, how bad the destruction of Alderaan is if we don't see their expressions. Leia clearly shares that, right? My God, what the hell did they do to Bail Organa? What, in Andor? Okay, nah. Star Wars is for everyone. Anyone who likes George Lucas and the EU, not everyone. Nothing is for everyone. Try make something for everyone results to bland slop that nobody enjoys. There you go. You're digging deeper into that concept. You are digging deeper into that concept. Let's see here. You guys are talking about Bail and Mon Mothma and Andor. That in its own self, I'm gonna have to really dissect both of them in that show and have a conversation. But I also desperately need to do or add to my compare and contrast series with a Bail Organa and a Mon Mothma compare and contrast. I really, really do. Let's see here. But I think I'm gonna bullshit, right? We already know that this guy is spinning hard on his make-believe rules, what he thinks or whatever that is, and coming up with these conclusions when we know already that, we've seen the Empire's evil up close from the beginning of the OT. If Darth Vader takes over Tantive 4, goes in and kills people with his troops, and this guy doesn't even call back to that because it destroys his fucking narrative. We see it from the beginning. That's why Vader has always been one of the all-time classic villains in movie history. Now, if Lucas kept the Empire's evil at bay, we wouldn't have such a phenomenal evil character such as Vader, right? So basically, we just destroyed his BS. Destroyed his BS from the start. Let's see here. Oh, you found it. Cool. I couldn't remember the name for the life of me, and it's probably a real simple, easy name. So I can't wait to see you use it too as well. Homage back to the OG Matt Wilkins and, and our friendships with him and stuff. And, and sharing our love of Star Wars. Disney not included, right? Disney is not Star Wars. And I did a tweet on Twitter, basically Twitter, about, and I shared So Uncivilized anti-trilogy video. And I put on there, the title is for the tweet is Disney Star Wars is anti-Star Wars. And that's what I truly believe. And just reading this article shares how much it is anti-Star Wars, because if someone who comes in and is writing about the franchise, writing about Star Wars, and can't get simple facts, can't even remember simple things about the Empire, and coming up with these stupid, bogus-ass rules about, keeping the Empire's evil at bay or at arm's length, but fails to mention, like, Vader capturing Leia's ship, going in and killing people and stuff, and literally up in her face. That's not keeping evil at bay. And then goes to use the PT, then realize if I use the PT like Order 66 and stuff like that, that's going to defeat the narrative that I'm creating. Yeah, so we they are anti-Star Wars, and the people who support it don't know shit about what they are fucking talking about. Let's see here. Gatekeepers Alliance Star Wars Celebration, 8 to 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, Friday through Sunday. Grizzy and Malvin. Yes, thank you so much. I was going to get to that one as we come to a closure. So join us Friday through Sunday for our celebration, Star Wars celebration. First day, we're going to go into the movies, talking about the movies and anti George Lucas talk as well, and the shills and stuff. So we're going to get into a whole plethora of history of Star Wars pertaining to the movies and how these shills came about. The second day we're going to get into the EU. We're going to talk about the new Jedi Order Renaissance that myself with Star Wars, Marvel purists and everybody involved has created. And we've seen a surge of new Jedi Order talk on Twitter. Mind you, we don't mind. We love it. But we're also going to call out the people who are only using this to get their own attention, that they really don't care about the EU. They're just using us and the Renaissance that we created with the new Jedi Order to get attention. So we're going to call back on that and the EU and all the anti-EU BS and rhetoric and stuff like that in our experience. Each one of us on the Gatekeepers Alliance has our own experience with these type of people. And then we're going to get in on Sunday. We're going to get into watching shills review, shill watch, all of that, summing it all up. So it should be fun, entertaining, probably have some skits on there and stuff, what have you. I look forward to it this weekend. So join us there on Grizzy's and Melvin's channels. Friday and Sunday is Grizzy, I believe, and Friday and Sunday Grizzy, and Saturday Melvin's. So find it there. And tonight, of course, we will. It looks like Raging Rhino is back with his Casual Rage. So go ahead and check that out tonight as well. And Monday, if needed, my channel 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. If there are things we do not get covered Friday through Sunday. Yes. I should be home maybe by the time you start, if you decide to, and be able to jump on. I'll be down in Southern California. For the time being, I'm going down to Art Supply Warehouse store there and stuff like that. But I should be home in time. So there's that. It's funny. OG says plethora, and thinking back to the part of Three Amigos. What is a plethora? Oh, the Three Amigos. That's such a quirky, fun show to watch. So much fun. So much fun. All right. Thank you, guys. It looks like we're going to wrap up here. If there's anything that you have any questions so far about New Jedi Order and what we've been discussing and going and covering, please share right now. Southern Cal road trip video? No. So if there's anything, if you have any questions pertaining to the lore that we've been talking about, feel free to share right now as we start closing. I would be happy to address or clarify or just have fun discussing with you on that as well. EFAT video may be dropping today, about to continue editing. Hey, there you go. So check out, keep an eye on Curious's channel for that. Hopefully it drops. If not, then keep an eye out because it will eventually come out. If not, by tomorrow. All righty then. I'm anticipating lunch with my son. So he's picking that up. So I'm going to start concluding here. So thank you guys again so much for hanging out. 72 beautiful souls here on a Thursday morning, afternoon, whatever time frame you're in. That didn't work out very well. And I look forward to our Thursdays. I look forward to supplying content with you when I get it out. I still have 2 things cooking in the editing process. So hopefully I'll have that out as well. So, and I'm going to begin. I just started beginning Star by Star, my reread of that. Super excited about that. So yeah, thank you for your continued support. And here's the reminder for those who may have forget, those who may be falling into the revisionist trap of Disney about who the chosen one is.
As it was explained to me by George Lucas, even when he becomes Darth Vader and even when he's fully immersed in the dark side, he is still the chosen one.
Hayden is Anakin Skywalker, and he knows this. So to have them bring all that knowledge, and it's more than knowledge, it's more instinct and emotional. They just know what feels right for their characters. It's invaluable.
It's a very meditative process for me. Sometimes my mind wanders, mostly about the scene we're about to do. The difference between Anakin and Darth Vader, and is Anakin completely gone or not? He is fully Darth Vader, he's fully consumed by the dark side. But I like to believe that there's always a little bit of Anakin still in there.
All right. So I love these little clips. Stay tuned. I might have more coming up, and I'll probably alternate between them since you can only put so many clips on here as well. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you guys. Haven't become a channel member, do so. Starting the first Sunday of June, we will begin our listen party for Young Jedi Knights series, and that will be tentatively at 6 p.m. So stay tuned for that. So become a channel member. You have your chance to join. Never too late, even if it's right up to the watch party or listen party. So as always, have a great day. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you for hanging out. Let me know you're here. And to everyone watching, I will talk to you later. Have a good day, and may the Force be with you.
Another happy landing.